maybe you can talk about the current two big competitors in terms of models, Claude Opus 4.6 and GPT 5.3 Codex. Which is better? How different are they? I think you've spoken about Codex reading more and Opus being more willing to take action faster and maybe being more creative in the actions it takes. But because Codex reads more, it's able to deliver maybe better code. Can you speak to the differences there?
I have a lot of words there. Is as a general purpose model, Opus is the best. Like for OpenClaw, Opus is extremely good in terms of roleplay, like really going into the character that you give it. It's very good at. And it was really bad, but it really made an arch to be really good at following commands. It is usually quite fast at trying something. It's much more tailored to like trial and error. It's very pleasant to use. In general, it's almost like Opus is a little bit too American, and maybe it is a bad analogy. You probably get roasted for that.
I know exactly. It's because Codex is German. Is that what you're saying? Actually, now that you say it, it makes perfect sense.
Or you could sometimes sometimes I explain it.
I will never be able to unthink what you just said. That's so true.
But you also know that a lot of the Codex team is like European. So maybe there's a bit more to it.
That's so true. That's funny.
But also Entropic, they fixed it a little bit. Like Opus used to say, "You're absolutely right all the time," and it's today it still triggers me. I can't hear it anymore. It's not even a joke. I just this was like the meme, right? You're absolutely right.
You're allergic to sycophancy a little bit.
Yeah, I can't. Some other comparison is like Opus is like the coworker that is a little silly sometimes, but it's really funny and you keep him around. And Codex is like the weirdo in the corner that you don't want to talk to, but is reliable and gets shit done.
Yeah.
Ultimately,
this all feels very accurate.
I mean, ultimately, if you're a skilled driver, you can get good results with any of those latest gen models. I like Codex more because it doesn't require so much charade. It'll just read a lot of code by default. Opus, you really have to you have to have plan mode. You have to push it harder to go in these directions because it's just like yeah, can I go it? Can I go it? You know, it's like it will just run off very fast, and there's a very localized solution. I think the difference is in the post training. It's not like the raw model intelligence is so different, but it's just I think that they just give it different goals. And no model is better in every aspect.
What about the code that it generates? In terms of the actual quality of the code, is it basically the same?
If you drive it right, Opus even sometimes can make more elegant solutions, but it requires more skill. It's harder to have so many sessions in parallel with Cloud Code because it's more interactive. And I think that's what a lot of people like, especially if they come from coding themselves. Whereas Codex is much more, you have a discussion, and then we'll just disappear for 20 minutes. Like even AMP, they now added a deep mode. I mocked them, you finally saw the light. And then they had this whole talk about you have to approach it differently. And I think that's where people struggle when they just try Codex after trying Cloud Code, is that it's a slightly different, it's less interactive. It's like I have quite long discussions sometimes and then go off, and then doesn't matter if it takes 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes or longer. Like the thing was 6 hours. The latest gen can be very, very persistent until it works. If there's a clear solution, like this is what I want at the end, so it works, the model will work very hard to really get there. So I think ultimately they both need similar time, but on Claude it's a little more trial and error often, and Codex sometimes overthinks. I prefer that. I prefer the dry version where I have to read less over the more interactive, nice way. Like people like that so much though that OpenAI even added a second mode with like a more pleasant personality. I haven't even tried it yet. I kind of like the bread. Yeah, because I care about efficiency when I build it, and I have fun in the very act of building. I don't need to have fun with my agent who builds. I have fun with my model where I can then test those features.
How long does it take for you to adjust? If you switch, I don't know when was the last time you switched, but to adjust to the feel, because you've kind of talked about you have to kind of really feel where a model is strong, where like how to navigate, how to prompt it, all that kind of stuff. Like this by way of advice, because you've been through this journey of just playing with models. How long does it take to get a feel?
If someone switches, I would give it a week until you actually develop a gut feeling for it.
Yeah.
I think some people also make the mistake of they pay $200 for the Cloud Code version, then they pay $20 for the OpenAI version. But if you pay like the $20 version, you get the slow version. So your experience will be terrible because you're used to this very interactive, very good system, and you switch to something that you have very little experience, and that's going to be very slow. So I think OpenAI shot themselves a little bit in the foot by making the cheap version also slow. I would have at least a small part of the fast preview, or like the experience that you get when you pay $200 before degrading to it being slow, because it's already slow. I mean, they made it better. I think it's and they have plans to make it a lot better if the Cerebro stuff is true. But yeah, it's a skill. It takes time. Even if you have a regular guitar and you switch it to an e-guitar, you're not gonna play well right away. You have to like learn how it feels.
There's also this extra psychological effect that you've spoken about, which is hilarious to watch. Which once people, when the new model comes out, they try that model, they fall in love with it. Wow, this is the smartest thing of all time. And then they start saying, you could just watch the Reddit posts over time, start saying that we believe the intelligence of this model has been gradually degrading. It says something about human nature and just the way our minds work, when it's probably most likely the case that the intelligence of the model is not degrading. It's in fact, you're getting used to a good thing.
And your project grows, and you're adding slop, and you probably don't spend enough time to think about refactors, and you're making it harder and harder for the agent to work on your slop. And then suddenly, oh no, it's hard. Oh no, it's not working as well anymore. What's the motivation for like one of these AI companies to actually make the model dumber? Like at most they will make it slower if the server load is too high, but like quantizing the model so you have a worse experience, so you go to the competitor,
Yeah.
that just doesn't seem like a very smart move in any way.